All right, I'm just sending this in this new thread in the Remind so that everybody can get this. Sorry, the stream broke. I don't know. You know, College Board must have known what I was going to say, and they were trying to stop me. If College Board has ever been the mafia, there's more evidence now than ever, right? All right, I'm going to wait a few minutes while I see people start to pop back up on the live so I don't have to repeat myself. Okay, I see people can keep logging on. When it gets back to like 6 or 7, I'll keep going. Whatever. If I say something anyone misses, I'll keep this up so you can always go back. But anyway, like I was saying, the question is probably going to be from periods 3 through 7. And you have to use 4 of the 5 documents instead of 6 of the 7, but we want to use all of them as that safety net. So on the rubric that you're used to, there's 1 point for the first 3 and then 1 point for using 6. And then on this rubric, there's going to be 1 point for using 2 and then a second point for using 4. So it's a similar breakdown. On top of that, normally what is the outside evidence point, where they are expecting, like 1 piece of outside evidence to support your theory. In this one, they're accepting 2 pieces of outside evidence. So because I think that's actually better, because this way, they're giving you like an extra point for content knowledge, essentially, which is what so many of you have. The skills part is the hard part. And so being able to throw an extra point for content in there and saying like, oh, I've got 1 more piece of evidence that I have in my brain, like, even better. So I think that is actually a good thing. Whenever there's a full new typed version of this rubric, there isn't now, there's just an explanation. But when there's a full typed version of the rubric, I will email it out to you. Additionally, what I mentioned last night is College Board, it's doubling their amount of AP readers. So instead of having, 1 person read your DBQ and grade it, they're going to have 1 person read it and grade it, and then a second person read it and grade it to verify that you're really getting all the points for all of the things that you've put in there, because they don't want you, since your whole grade is, destined on this one essay, they want to make sure that you're not missing any points that you could have gotten. As for college credit, 3 is still passing, 3, 4, 5 are still passing, and every major college university system in the country, both public and private, have all come out and said that they will still accept the 3, 4, and 5 that you earn from this one exam as your score. And all of the North Carolina university system schools, from Chapel Hill, Appalachian, UNCW, UNCG, they all will take a 3, 4, and 5 for credit. So that's still the same. You said they're not grading based on content, but on skill. So that means that that's why they're not doing an SAQ, because SAQ, any SAQ question that they ask you, you could easily just like Google an answer and write something down. You're not really showing a lot of skill there. You're just showing like content knowledge, which is why they're not doing that. The DBQ is about, can you formulate an argument and can you use historical information to back it up? So you're not being graded on what that historical information is. You're just being graded on, does that historical information truly support the argument that you're formulating? The DBQ and the LEQ are all skill. The only piece of content that goes into a DBQ or LEQ is the outside evidence. And there's not as much outside evidence required for the DBQ as there is for the LEQ, which is why they're going with the DBQ instead. Ultimately, while the DBQ is the hardest part of the exam and a lot of people's least favorite, it is the most AP part of the exam. It's the most college-y piece. It's the one where you have to basically take sources and create a research paper, right? In 5 paragraphs or less. And so it makes sense that that's the piece that they would choose. It isn't awesome, but it does make sense. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. I do think that this is going to be a difficult, transition, but I do think that we're going to figure it out. And I still feel just as confident about you guys. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience, but I do think that you guys have just as good of a shot to do well on this exam as you did before. I know some people wish it was multiple choice, but honestly, I don't think that would be a good call for a variety of reasons. One of which, it would be too easy for people to cheat on a multiple choice exam. On top of that, that doesn't really show all of the AP skills that college. I mean, think about this, like from a college's perspective. If you operate, have a college and you want to make sure that these kids, if you pass this exam or if you pass the English exam, you're placing into a higher level of courses at your college. So just clicking and guessing a bunch of right answers on multiple choice, and then we place you in this higher level college class, like, you're going to fail. You're going to flop. It's going to be a disaster. They need to make sure that they know that you actually know this information. And multiple choice is not the best way of doing that, which is why the multiple choice part of the exam in the normal format isn't even half of your score. It's only 40% of your entire score. A majority of your score still comes from writing. So it makes sense that their abridged version of the test would be all writing. That is a decision I would have made as well if I was Trevor Packer and College Board. I also would have said it should only be FRQ. I might not have said that it should be DBQ, but I would have said that it should be FRQ. So now my dog thinks now is a great time to play. Shh, stop that. You're making a lot of noise. So now I'm going to take questions. Does anybody have questions about how the exam's going to work, how you're supposed to submit it? Hey, Nautica. How you're supposed to submit it, how you're going to, what it's going to be on, anything like that. You're not going to fail. You're not going to fail. And even if you do, it's not the end of the world. It's not awesome, but it's not the worst thing to potentially happen. Count on College Board to give us a take-home AP exam. I mean, yeah, they actually, he made it clear last night that it would actually be in College Board's financial best interest to cancel these exams because they're having to pour millions of dollars into this online platform. But if that happened, you would all lose your AP weight credit. You would also not get any opportunity to earn the college credit, which is like the whole reason that most people take the exam. And when they sent out that survey to students across the country, 91% of AP students said they still wanted to take the exam. So giving an AP exam makes sense. Do scores come back around the same time? I do believe. He didn't say anything about that, but I'm pretty sure all of the reading this year is going to be done, obviously, at home. All of the AP readers are going to be accessing everything on their computers. So if anything, it should be a little bit quicker because there won't have to be any like flying or anything. So it still should be, first, second week of July that you'll get your scores back. However, when I get your essay, I'm going to grade them and I'll tell you what I think you got. I don't know yet on the scale of 1 to 7 points what and still pass. So I don't know what a sole DBQ passing score should be other than maybe just like a 4 out of 7. So I'm sure they'll come out with more information about that. DBQs are supposed to be 60 minutes, but like I said, because they're cutting down on the documents, they're reducing it to 45. I thought the attendance thing for our final exams is that void now. I have no idea what you're talking about, Allie. You need to rephrase that. What if we're taking it on the internet and our internet goes out? Great question. He did talk about that last night. If that happens, you have to call me immediately. And the school, if that truly does happen to you and something goes wrong with your internet or something goes wrong with your computer, College Board doesn't want to penalize anybody for that. So there is a makeup exam date, which is For each test, it's different. There are makeup exam dates, but you can only take your exam on the AP exam date if our school tells College Board that you really need to, and we have to submit paperwork for that. So if that happens, the makeup exam date for APUSH is June 3rd, and you would be taking a different exam. It would still be a DBQ. It would just be a totally different question. It would be the makeup exam question. They always have a few questions floating around. So that's a good question. So if that happens, that will suck, but don't freak out. Not the end of the world. You'll get a chance to redo it. We have less than 3 absences than I thought we would have to take final exams for teacher made exams this year. Well, absences don't really count anymore, Allie, since you're at home. In addition to, yeah, that's definitely void. On top of that, you're taking the exam anyway, right? You don't get to exempt the actual AP exam unless you want to reimburse the county for their money, which I don't think anyone does. So you're not exempting the exam would mean you don't have to take it, but you are taking this, so I might as well use it. Any other questions? I've been talking to some APUSH teachers about what we think the exam question will be. I don't know yet if they're going to give me a sample. I honestly don't think so, because it will be the same. It will just be 5 documents instead of 7. So I don't really see. I'm going to send you practice. Yeah, I'm going to assign you a full practice exam on AP Classroom before the actual exam, and it will include multiple choice. And we were going to do that anyway. That's normally how I like tell people, hey, this is what I think you're going to do on the exam. Here's what you need to work on. And now it'll be different. And yes, I'm going to message you once I look at your actual exam, and I'll let you know how I think you did. At that point, obviously there will be no shot in fixing it, but at least you can, if you thought you did terrible, but I think you did great, it'll be a little ease of mind. But like I said, we've been talking about what we think what the exam question will be. And there's a variety of things that I think. There are a few topics that they've never asked about that I could in a DBQ that I could definitely see them asking about. Andrew Jackson is definitely one of them. The Jacksonian era is a big piece of early American history. And other than the Civil War, it's probably the biggest piece of the 19th century. And they've never asked a DBQ question about that. So I could definitely see it being something on like a topic like that, something they haven't done. But I could also see this being a question that covers multiple periods. So that's something that we need to be ready for. Since there's only one question here and one shot for you to show what you know, I think that they're going to go with the multiple period option. And what that means is they might, an example of a question they've done that they did a few years ago was to analyze the changing roles of women in American history. And so it covered multiple periods. There were documents from several different points in time to use in your essay. So it could be like that. It could be it could talk about like the changing roles of political parties over time. It could be, the changing power of the presidency over time. So I could definitely, that's what I'm starting to lean more towards the more that I think about it. I think that seems most likely what they would do is ask you I don't know that for sure. Obviously they could still just, throw a question out there that's just about one thing, but my money's on it's going to be, something that covers multiple periods. So what my plan is moving forward is as we start to review, and starting next week, we're going to be doing, I'm going to, in order to give us maximum review time and to like prepare for this, I'm going to push everything up a little bit. And I know that you're probably thinking like, oh my God, we're going to do so much work. No, I'm not going to give you any more work than normal. I'm just going to cover the content at a faster pace. I don't necessarily have to go into it super in depth any longer. Plus, there are some things we were going to do in class in these future units that we literally can't now because we're not in class, and they're hard for me to like transfer to online stuff. So So I'll probably, your test is not going to be April 15th any longer. It'll definitely be sooner than that. I'm going to rework the pacing of the rest of the semester over the weekend, and I'll give you an update on Monday about when your test will be. But there's only one chapter left in this entire period 8 that we're in. And I could see us finishing that period in, 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, and then maybe like Wednesday, Thursday review, test Friday. And then we could probably knock out all of period 9 in a week or less. So we'll see. When we start learning things I know from civil liberties, it's not even going to be an exam. Well, at least it'll be on your period test. It'll be on your period 8 test. All the stuff, Are we going to finish the whole 9 period? Yeah, I'm still going to finish period 9, mostly because there are things that you should just know for life. In there, like if you I know Watergate was on the agenda and everything for today. Like those are things that you should, like if you hear the phrase Watergate, like you should know what that is, like for life. Or if you hear someone talk about the Iran-Contra affair, like you should know what that is, which I'm willing to bet most of you don't at this point. So those are things that we still need to get to, especially if the question is a multiple period question, then you contextualize with information from outside of that. And you can always, the documents might come from in periods 3 through 7, but that doesn't mean your outside evidence can't come from knowledge that you have from periods 1, 2, 8, or 9. So this test will still be multiple choice and a writing part. I don't know what the writing part will be. It would be something if I made a DBQ for practice, wouldn't it? So, stay tuned. Still don't know anything about grades. They're talking about changing the grading scale. So once they decide about, they don't pay me enough to make those decisions. So once all the big paid people are going to make all those decisions, they'll let the peons know, and I'll relay all the rest of it to you. Might be an SAQ, might not. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Now more than ever, though, I really encourage you to start watching those live streams every day at 11, because the people who are doing those live streams are working with College Board to decide. Yes, I'm still getting paid. The people who are doing those live streams are working with College Board to work out this exam, and they're going through exam practice. They're talking about contextualization. They're doing a lot of stuff that is going to be really beneficial. They have more insider scoop on the AP exam side than I do. So even if you think that some of the stuff might be boring, the content is content you need for this period anyway, stuff that could be on your period test, which will be good. And the skills they're going over, might be helpful to hear it from another perspective. So like I said, starting next week, we're going to start covering the content at a little bit faster pace, and we'll start doing some like review activities. We'll have to start, brushing up on our contextualization skills, our thesis writing, our magic point things, argument evidence. So we'll start getting back into the swing of all of that next week. One question I did have for College Board that has not been answered to me yet is one thing that a lot of you had gotten used to and liked doing was writing on your documents and annotating as you go and got ready to do your essay. And obviously, since it's on a computer, that's not really an option. So that is one thing that will be harder, and that's something that we'll have to prepare for. In addition to that, the time you're gonna be pacing yourself. You're used to me saying you have 30 minutes left, you have 5 minutes left, and reminding you, yes, the time will appear on the screen while you're working on your test, but you can also choose to get rid of that if seeing it is stressing you out. I know for some people, seeing the constant ticking down just makes you anxious, and that's not going to be helpful during the exam. So you are going to have to pace yourself during the test. So that's something that you're going to be responsible for. Any other questions about the exam? I'm sure you'll have to submit it yourself. I'm sure there'll be a button that says, like save and submit or something. I don't know. we'll know more about that when they send out the at-home test packets and the video simulations about like what actually the submission and the software format is going to look like. I'm going to see you next year. So some of y'all probably see at graduation whenever that happens. We'll still need junior marshals for graduation and junior ambassadors. So now it's 5 documents. All the DBQs, what you give us will be 5 documents. From now on, I'll probably give you DBQs that still have 7 documents. You just won't have to use 6. I'll just make you only use 5 instead of 6. Or and you could always just not read the 7th one if you want. So do we come back at the end of May to drop off things like computers? That depends on the shelter in place stuff that is currently in effect. If our shelter in place is still in effect, then no, you won't be allowed on campus, not open to the public. So, but when it's time to, to be out in the world again, we'll get all that stuff back from you guys. When we have information about junior marshals, that's something that I'll talk to Amber about this week. It's hard to make any decisions right now because we don't know when graduation will be. And not only do we not know when graduation will be, we don't know what graduation is going to look like. So, so we can't really make any decisions on any of that stuff right now. But we'll talk about this week, and I'll let you know. But I'm sure whenever we do junior marshal applications, we'll just post them on the school website, and then you guys can fill them out and submit them online. They did say one of the documents would be non-text. So at least one of the 5 documents will be an image, a political cartoon, a graph, something that is not text related. I know, I am also in a state of shock. I audibly gasped last night on that webinar when Trevor Packer said that all the AP histories would be doing a DBQ. And then I said, they're going to hate this. But that's okay. And I'm sure Dr. Smith has already sent you guys information. But if you didn't see it in my email last night, the AP Lang exam is May 20th, and it's just the rhetorical analysis essay, which I'm sure you guys have already written and know about. And I don't think that has been, I don't think that's being like amended at all, because I'm pretty sure that's like fine to do in 45 minutes. The DBQ is just a little different. Any other questions? Don't stress out about this over the weekend. There's no point. There's nothing you can do about it now. There are a good tool that this is something I do want to mention. We're good on AP Lang. I'm worried about this DBQ. I know, but we've got time to get ready for it. There is one thing I want to mention. In the back of your book, in the back of your American Pageant book, there are a bunch of sample DBQs. This starts on page A59. On A59, there are all of these DBQs, and some of them are across multiple periods. So that would be something to be a good example. You got mad and started screaming. Of course you did. So if you want to like look at any of those DBQs over the weekend and write one for practice, pick 5 of the documents that are in there and, give yourself 45 minutes just to see what it feels like. You can absolutely email me your essay, and I'll be happy to look at it and tell you what I think. If it's good, bad, what you need to work on. I'm trying to look at one now and see if there's one that covers like multiple periods, like a good example of one that goes across multiple periods. That's the Great Depression. I'm not sure, but I know there are some in here because I've seen them. Don't cry. Do not cry. I don't know anything about college classes. I don't know anything about college classes. No one needs to be in tears it's going to be fine. Here's one on page A76. It says, evaluate the factors that cause changes in women's roles in the family, workplace, and society between 1815 and 1860. So that covers periods 4 and 5. So that's a multiple period question. The documents go all the way from the beginning of one period to the end of the next. It is a lot to take in. I know that, and I knew that a lot of us would be flipping out. I said it in the email, but don't freak out. Oh, here's a good one. I think the ones in the beginning of the DBQ section of your book are a good example. DBQ 4 is across like several different periods. It's across all the periods actually. And it's about war. It just says analyze the extent to which democratic ideals have led the United States to war. So like document 1 is from the Declaration of Independence. Document 2, is from the Tripolitan War, 3, Mexican War, 4, Spanish-American War, 5, World War I, 6, Cold War, and 7, Iraq War. So it's definitely, like I said, possible to ask a question that crosses all of the periods. So I could definitely see them doing that. So looking at some of those, maybe we'll do one of those for practice. Maybe I'll have you handwrite one of those and submit them for practice sometime next week. I was scared about crying, having a panic attack in front of y'all. But now I'm even more scared College Board is going to see me doing that. They really might, because I mean, I don't know. That's crying is not inevitable. No one needs to cry. If I'm not crying, you don't need to be crying. You're not going to get hurt by these scores. Keep that in mind. Let's say you open up that. I mean, think about your worst case scenario. You log on and it's something you feel like you have no idea about. You blank, you botch the whole thing, you fail. Then what? It's not going to kill you. It's not going to affect colleges. They're not going to know. When I get it and I see it, I'm not going to just be like, okay, cool, F for our final exam. I'm not going to do that, even if I do use it as a grade. That's not what I'm going to do. If you blank, you know, we'll have some strategies in place for some things you can do for if you go blank. But you're going to have the documents right in front of you. You can always just, you know, at least summarize the documents that are there and maybe get like 1 point for that. I've cried in the classroom and at home by APUSH. Would this be legal if someone was in witness protection? Yes, this would still be legal. I can barely pass a quiz. Hush. It means no college credits. I know, but that's why we're going to bust our butt over these next few weeks to try and get those college credits. You know, nothing's guaranteed, but we're going to do our best. What if the FBI taps into it and looks? The FBI doesn't need to tap into College Board if they want to look through your camera. They can look through it right now. What if we have one? Yeah, you do have one chance to get it right. That is stressful. My test anxiety. Yes, I know. Lots of test anxiety is going to be happening, I'm sure. But you'll have the home field advantage, right? You'll be in the comfort of your own house. You can, you know, sit on the couch, be in a comfy spot. You can have, you know, water, stay hydrated through testing. Those are all things that you don't get to do during the regular AP exam. I'll email everyone a picture of my face so you can tape it up and have me there to look at as a calming mechanism. This goes back to AP Lang. If I can learn how to write a rhetorical analysis, then I may have a chance. I guess how you'd be feeling if you were us. How would you be feeling right now? I would definitely be feeling stressed because I remember when I was in high school, the DBQ is not the part that I liked, right? Well, you know, the same reason I'm sure a lot of you were freaking out. It's stressful. But there is, you know, comfort in now you don't have to worry about an LEQ. Now you don't have to worry about writing all of these different SAQs. Now you don't have to worry about like what could they, you know, how many different things am I going to have to be writing about? You're not going to have to worry about your hand cramping up. So there are definitely some things to take comfort in. It's just not, I think there are some better things about this and there are some worse things about this. So in the end, hopefully it'll all even out. No, no one's coming over here. You know, we're in quarantine. no one's allowed anywhere. Stay at home, shelter in place. Traveling to me is not essential. I'd rather do 5 FAQs. I know. But alas. Yes, exactly. People who write slow, like Zaria, we know is a slow writer. Now you can type, so everybody better be working on their typing skills over the weekend. That's a good question. Is the quarantine actually effective? One thing that, if you've been watching the like press conferences from Dr. I think it's Burks or Bricks or something like that, the lady with all the cute scarves, and then Dr. Fauci, they've been talking a lot about, is the quarantine effective? We're seeing two things. One is that all the science is telling us that if we weren't doing quarantine, things would be 9,000 times worse. So they're definitely helping. However, the projections that we have for moving forward for what's going to play out with the entire COVID situation rely on the idea that people in majority are participating in self-isolation. And what we're starting to see now is our curve is not bending quite like it should. It could be a lot worse if we weren't doing a quarantine. But if everyone was really taking it as seriously as they are in other countries, if we had maybe like a national lockdown, or if some of these states like Florida, who have sort of been dragging their feet about it, had done it quicker, then we might have started to see our curve bend sooner. It has not started to bend yet. Yesterday was a record high for positive tests, so we'll continue to see how this plays out. I'm dead. Y'all are ridiculous. We'll all be okay. We have nothing but time on our hands now. I encourage you to go ahead and start trying to reactivate some of that old knowledge from, talking about the first Reform era and the Second Great Awakening and Andrew Jackson and the Civil War and all of those things. Start trying to and the Manifest Destiny. Start trying to. Oh, what if they asked a whole question about migration patterns throughout American history? Come on, that'd be a great question. So start trying to dig up some of that information. A lot of the all of those U.S. history crash course videos that I put on your what's the word I'm looking for? On your syllabus, I would definitely start looking at those. John Green has them in playlists. He has a whole playlist of U.S. history crash course videos. Pick up where, period 3 starts and start watching some of those and and each one's only like 15 minutes. It's a good way to remember a lot of those things that you had probably forgotten. You definitely need to worry about your non-AP classes because they're still going to affect your GPA. We just don't know what grades are going to look like. So definitely get all your work done. I think that would be great. Do you remember the beginning of APUSH? I didn't start catching on until period 6. I have no more knowledge. Yes, I do remember the beginning and the struggle that we all went through. But now you are a stronger and better AP student. So maybe if you go back now and look at it for a second time, it'll be even easier. All those period charts in the back of your AMSCO book chapters and that you have in your notebook is going to be super helpful. All right, so I'm going to let you guys go now. Like I said, look through some of those DBQs that are in the back of your American pageant book over the weekend to see what I'm talking about when I say like, DBQs across multiple periods. You don't necessarily have to do any of those DBQs. What I would do, I would just look at them and think like, well, how would I answer this question? What would my answer be? How would I start to use these documents? Look at them, see if you understand them, because you're still going to have to do all those same things. You're still going to have to source 2 documents, meaning you're going to have to explain how the author's, point of view, historical situation, audience, how those relate to your argument. You're still going to have to be able to do all those things. So all those skills that you've learned, how to like source a document and summarize it, you're still going to have to do all that stuff. Hopefully there will be some documents in there that we've seen before in class. You guys have looked at probably, a couple hundred historical documents since August. So you definitely have a lot in the bank, even if they're not all at the front and you can remember them immediately. I'm sure that there are plenty that you would see and, it would all sort of start coming back to you, which is good. But if you're looking at any of that over the weekend, definitely, ask me questions if you have any. Can you send us your test scores of the DBQs we did on in class? They're at school, and I'm not allowed at school to get them. Everything that's paper is at school, and I'm not allowed to go there. It's against the law. You're trying to get me arrested, Allie? Then how are you going to do on the AP exam without me? Probably still okay, but hopefully with me, I'll help a little bit. We are going to write, I do want to, mentally prepare yourself. You're definitely going to write a DBQ next week. I've already got it and I know what it's going to be. So you're certainly going to get a DBQ next week. We'll be writing one in its entirety. But I'll do it like the new thing. You'll only have to use 4 documents. And that's one important thing I do want to say. Do not stress about all this. Even if you stress about all this, though, because I know some of you, Zaria, Amber, it's inevitable, you extra stressors. Don't be negative. Don't already get into that headspace of like, well, now I'm definitely going to fail, because I promise you there is power in words. There are so many studies on people who go into something with a positive outlook perform better than people who go into one with a negative outlook. And if you go in thinking that and I've seen it on AP exams a million times, people who go in thinking that they're going to do okay, that they're going to do well. And I'm like, are they going to do well? They do better than the people who go in and think I'm not going to do good on this at all. And I'm like, but they have all that. I've seen their work. They should be fine. They literally don't do well. There's a lot of power in words and in your state of mind. So we have done a lot of work since August. If you don't believe me, look at your notebook. Maybe for some of you, it might be more than one notebook. You have done a lot of stuff. You've taken a lot of quizzes, a lot of tests. You've read a lot of documents. You've written, I don't know how many thesis statements. I don't know how many contextualization paragraphs. This is just one more paragraph, one more thesis statement. It'll be okay. I have seen your work. And if I thought that all of you or any of you really were not going to pass this exam, that there was no shot, I wouldn't be expecting you to do any work for it. I would just be like, I'm going to focus on the ones that can. But I truly do believe that all 17 of you have just as good of a shot now as you did before. We're just going to have to, I'm still in shock that we're in a pandemic. I know, it's very surreal. It's weird when I go out and I don't see a single person. It's very odd. So good luck. Have a good weekend. Don't forget that the rest of your work for the week is due tonight. If you didn't see in my stream the other day, next week we are going to move to day-by-day due dates. I will post things more ahead of time, but they'll be due that day. So, get ready for that. If you want to start reading ahead over the weekend, and then you can, do the notes videos at double speed or something, so that takes less time, whatever works best for you. But please try not to be negative. Please try not to start to think that you're going to fail, because I promise if you have that outlook, then you probably will. If you go in with a positive attitude, you're definitely much more likely to do better. Let me know if you have questions about the way the exam's going to work, or about anything that you're working on over the week or over the weekend, and I will do my best to help you. I wish you all a wonderful and healthy weekend. Wash your hands, stay inside, do not go out. Let more people stay inside. I'm going to go ahead and say IDs are a no, since now I'm going to move everything up. If you want to do some IDs and send me a video of the ones that you do, I'll make a place where you can upload them on Canvas for extra credit, but I'm not going to require ID. So if you want to part ways with those 5x8 index cards, you can definitely do that. Since now we're basically going to have to rework. I need to rework the rest of the plans, or all my plans for the rest of the semester, to make sure that we're ready for what's coming on May 15th. We get a whole extra week. That should also make people excited. We get a whole extra week of preparation. If you've got ID cards, you can always sell them to some of next year's juniors. I'm sure that they're going to get into plenty of desperate times looking for ID cards. Okay, yeah. You'll never see me again. How many times have I heard that? All right, well, have a good weekend. I'll send out an email on Monday to let you know what the plans are for the weekend, what reminders that that things are going to be due each day, and also what you might have to do on AP Classroom, because the DBQ work I'm going to give you does have to be on AP Classroom. So, adios.